Welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good weekend and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we're going to be talking about the patch notes that came in, some of the drama that happened with those, how I feel about them. It's going to be a little bit longer of an episode, but I'm also going to be covering the Hoarders Hunt Week 2. So stay tuned at the end of the episode for that. If you happen to hear any weird little noises, by the way, I had to record the intro here afterwards because I noticed that I messed up on the sourcing on this. So if you hear any weird beeps or boops or blops, those were my computer trying to update Adobe while I was recording, and I typically record silent, but if you hear those, just ignore them. Pretend I'm a professional podcaster and that this is definitely my only job. It's not my only job, but anyway, hope you guys enjoy this episode. Let's get into it. But before I get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons because they're the ones that went over to Keelhauled Podcast Patreon. They were the ones that went to patreon.com/Keelhauled Podcast. That's how I say it. And they are showing their support. They are the ones that are looking forward to the upcoming episode with the patrons at the end of each month. That is on the last Saturday before the final Monday of a month. So if there is a Monday that is the last Monday of that month, the Saturday prior to that at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. British Summer Time, I believe. It's 8 plus 1. Yeah, 9. That is when those are happening. If you have any questions, you have to join the Discord to be able to get into to see the event for that. You have to be a patron to be able to get access to the channel where we talk and join up to record for that episode. But I want to thank the patrons because they are supporting it. They are helping me get to SOT Fest. They are being very kind and generous. I cannot thank them enough, but I'm going to say their names here because I want to make them known to everyone. So if you happen to see them out on the seas, you can thank them for me. So thank you to People's Republic, L Cute, Balls, Bam Bam Bagel, Captain Chonky, Chateau Neuf. Welcome back, Chateau. It's good to see you. Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davram TV, who refuses to come to the episodes recording. I don't know why. El Jefe Esteban, Fergatron, Godhammer 6, Trickster, Jabaro 5, Jorby Jorbs, Carl Embo, Kazia the Aficionado, Nightstar, Lumpy SRQ, Evil Morpheus, Michael V, Xbox Mike 29, Murphy Lives, Mutinous Max, Norwegian, Raja the Brave, Registella, Replicated Flame, Rust Belt Kid, Scamelt 666, Captain Dasm, Tommy D, TN Professor, Real Big Tuna, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Captain J Rat of the Flaming Cold Sore, the Lore Chronologist Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H, Ghost Boy 20, Evil Martha. Evil Martha. I like that better. Evil Martha. Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Windsor Chris, and Zam. Wow. Thank you all so much for your love, for your support. I love when I get to see you chatting. I love when you hit me up randomly and be like, hey, how's it going? I've missed out on Sea of Thieves, but I'm still listening. And I need to figure out how the heck I'm supposed to do this mystery. Is it even still going? Even though you just talked about the first week. Thank you, Rust Belt. Love you guys all. Let's get into the episode. First up on today's docket, let's cover the patch notes. We'll talk about the mystery later on, but I just wanted to first off say again, thank you to the patrons for the gift that they gave me with the OLED Switch. I've been having a ton of blast. Zelda has still been a ton of fun. It's such a good game, such a fantastic game, but there's so much to play. And I've been hunting down these doubloons. I've been trying to hunt down a doubloon. I haven't found it. So, I'll be covering that a little bit, but let's talk about the patch notes. So this was 2.8.2, which is Palindrome, if I'm correct. And we've got some Pirate Emporium stuff that came in. So obviously we're still season 9, and it's been a very interesting season 9. I think this is probably one of the nicest patches I think we've gotten as far as fixes to games stability as far as, I guess, even just I don't know, it feels like the world is definitely a lot more alive. Like having those 6 ships really does make a difference. But to get into the actual Pirate Emporium aspect of it, the costumes are now out for Pirates of the Caribbean. So the Tia Doma costumes out there. It looks great. I probably won't be picking it up for obvious reasons. I don't really need it. But it does include the Bon Voyage emote and the summon apparition of a galleon and then send it away on its way across the horizon. So if you've played through the Pirate's Life Tall Tales, you'll know what this is about. As far as like Tia Doma, she always has that kind of like little ghostly apparition of a galleon, and then she pushes it through the kind of little portal. So you now be able to do that using the costume. There's also Red, the Red costume, and that's REDD. That is now out, and Red is a very interesting character because I can't imagine, unless you actually have gone to see the Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Disneyland or Disney World, or I guess like maybe Disney France. I don't know if they have it in. They probably do have her in Disney France or Disney Japan, all the different Disneys across the world. So I imagine if you haven't been to one of those, you probably don't know who Red is because she wasn't featured in the Tall Tales for Pirate's Life. But she is a character who's gone through quite a transformation over the years, and she's become a lot more closer to the Anne Bonny, if I recall the basis for what her character was, much less a woman of the night, and a lot more now a bloodthirsty captain. And it's kind of cool to see. And I think I even saw recently, I was looking into her history to try and dig it up for some folks. And it turns out that they've actually got a character actor now who walks around as Red in the Pirates of the Caribbean area, as well as the Louisiana district, I think is what they call it. I can't remember. It's actually been quite a while since I've been to Disneyland, so I'm struggling to remember what the different areas are over there, if they're even still there at this point. But the Red costume, which is a fantastic pirate costume, by the way, is now available. You can now use the Red's heckle emote, which I think is fantastic. And it also says here in the patch notes, a pirate can always spot the true treasure at an auction, and it won't be laying eggs, which is kind of funny. It's a good reference to the heckling of the pirates that used to heckle the auctioneer for when he was auctioning off wives in the original iteration of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Now Red has the heckle, and the comment is about the chickens and stuff. Really nice. They've also got the Cutler Beckett costume, which, if you remember, Cutler Beckett, part of the second and third films, very good villain, actually. And I can't remember what his name is, but I remember him being a really good character in Pride and Prejudice as well, too. Really just love him as an actor. But the Cutler Beckett is a costume you can now don. Again, a very piratey, if not a very English naval kind of thing. You know, obviously Cutler Beckett, part of the East India Trading Company, the influence to the Grand Maritime Union there. And this is one that I actually really like because you get the civilized drink emote, which is just so great because it's such a like, it has like this pompous nature to it that I love. And if you love, Cutler Beckett, then you know exactly which emote it is. So I'm really happy to see that come to the game. There's also the Castaway Cat, which is a mystical moggy that, thanks in part to being dressed as Tia Doma, is as unpredictable as the sea, which is kind of funny. And they also have the prominent prisoner monkey, which is, it's not I'm blanking on the name of the type of monkey it was that was in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. It's not the exact monkey model that I would have liked to have seen, especially given that we got the dog, right? We got the prison dog. I would have really have liked to have the same Jack from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, that was the monkey from there, available. But one of the interesting things about this is that the the relationship with Disney is not dead, in the sense that the Pirate's Life was just a one-off. This was a relationship built and nurtured, in that we are still getting access to a lot of the Pirates of the Caribbean content, which I love. I love that they're willing to do that, because it just means that there's more opportunities for people to kind of dress up as their favorite Pirates of the Caribbean characters. I'm genuinely looking forward to which ones they decide to bring in next, especially given how there are some very prominent characters that I think are missing currently, like Swan, Turner, Norrington, Governor Swan, Rigetti, Pintel, even Gillette, Cotton. I think, well, is Cotton? No, yeah. I think we have Cotton. But I think Cotton is part of the group set. But we have so many in the game already, but there's still some very big standouts. Like I really would love to see Norrington brought in, because Jack Davenport did such a good job with him, to kind of see like some of those. But there's a lot, there's so many good characters in Pirates of the Caribbean, and to be able to have more of those brought into the game, I think would it would be fun. It would be really fun. We've got the Black Pearl. We've got why am I blanking on the name of it? It's Davy Jones's ship. What is his ship called? You're yelling at me, I know. So you can stop yelling. I can't think with you yelling. It's the Dutchman? No. I can't. Again, you're still yelling at me. I know. I can't think of what it's called though. It's the Flying Dutchman. I got it. See, I got it. It's fine. It's the Flying Dutchman. I knew it all along. I was just messing with you. And if you believe that, I've got a great piece of property on the moon I can sell you too. So with these costumes coming in, we've also got some additional stuff, which okay, so the costumes are great, right? The cat's fine. The monkey's okay. But the thing that I've really loved is actually the Sea of Thieves Pirate's Life trinkets. So there's 3 painting bundles that you can pick up. There's the portraits, which has Jack Sparrow, Davy Jones, and Tia Dalma, or Dalma, I guess. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. That you can put up in your captain's ship. There's the Eternal Freedom, the Cursed Ferryman, and What Lurks Below paintings, which are fantastic as well. And then there's some of the it's like the stuff that they like, the concept art that they had. So they've got a Broken Blade, the Grotto's Horde, and the Bayou Beckons, which all of them actually really are super good. I really like all of these. I will probably be buying all of them because I got a couple Ancient Skellies this weekend, so I'll probably justify the purchase of that, because I think it was like 230 and 150, so it was a three about $4. I got about $4 this weekend. It was pretty awesome. But I definitely think I'm gonna be picking up the rest of these. I've bought the painted portraits, and I've made it a mission that every time I go into a session, whatever tavern I log, or whatever tavern like I get into, right? Doesn't matter what tavern it is. It's usually Plunder though. I will go over to the 3 little trinket spots that they have in the tavern, and I will always make sure to put up at least one of the Pirate's Life portraits. It doesn't matter. It's something, I change it up. It's either Jack Sparrow or Davy Jones or Tia Dalma, but Dalma, I have no clue how I should be saying that. Tia Dalma's, I think, the proper way. But I will typically put one of those up in the tavern in the hopes that whenever I sail off and I'm in the middle of doing something else, someone else will spawn into Plunder Outpost and be greeted by one of those 3 characters. And that's just, they run over and they might see it and they may be like, oh yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean was such a good series, man. Oh, I love that movie. I might go watch that later, kind of thing. Like you always kind of want to leave a little thing that makes someone smile, like later on. It's like a tip, but without having to be a tip, because you're just buying portraits and stuff. But I really love those. I think they're great. And I'm glad that we're still getting some stuff from Disney, because I think that we will get more stuff for Disney in the future. I don't know for sure beyond what I think is Hook will actually come to fruition, but I'm open to this relationship. I am open to seeing more Disney content come to Sea of Thieves. I think it's a perfect match. I think Sea of Thieves, I think the team over at Rare know how to show reverence for the source material while bringing it into the Sea of Thieves world so that it fits naturally. And they do such a good job with that. The only thing that I will talk for Caleb for this because it's something that will always bug him and always make him sad, is the Davy Jones costume doesn't have the face of Davy Jones the way it is in like we don't have the tentacles or the arms, whatever you want to call them, in the actual like costume itself. And I don't know what the choices were behind that, but I still hope that there is one day an opportunity for them to be able to bring the little squiddly arm things, with a key, because I think that it would really just kind of bring that costume to life, and it would really feel natural. There's, especially given how good some of the pirates are for the other characters that you happen to use the infinite pirate generator, and you happen to roll a pirate, and when you put on that costume, it just looks spot on. That it's one of those things that I think would really bring Davy Jones's costume to life. But beyond that, we've got a freebie that you should be logging into the Emporium to make sure you pick it up. This is the freebie Ranting Rogue emote. This is one that I guess was actually available back in season 7 for a short period of time, as I was told on, I believe it was Twitter or Discord. So this was something where I posted about it. Somebody let me know that this was actually available early on. I don't know for how long it was. It might have been one of those short time things, because if it was available before and I didn't get it, I'd be very surprised, because I'm usually pretty good about picking up those free promoted emotes, which makes me wonder if this was one of those accidental ones that was supposed to be swapped out for something else. But to let everyone know, there is a Tankard's Tricks emote bundle that's out there. If you're interested, Grog's your favorite tipple, and plenty of ways to fully appreciate its fabulous flavors. Show them off to your crew when performing these emotes, and they're pretty good. I like them. There is a Blooming Brigand bundle that is available in the store for it's either going to be the Steam store or the Microsoft store. So make sure you're going to your respective stores, depending on where you own the copy, whether it be the Windows Store on Xbox or the Xbox Store. You'll see it in the add-ons. But that bundle, Blooming Brigand, Brigand, in case you need to search for it. Sometimes you do. That is available. It's I haven't taken a look at this, but I'm gonna guess that it's probably about $16 because it's typically what they are. Let's take a look. For me, in the United States, with my Game Pass discount, I can get it for $15.30. Typically it is $17. So at least in the United States. So currencies are going to vary based on where you live and whatever the trading rate is for currencies. But if you want this, it's going to contain the Spring Blossom weapon bundle, the fishing rod, and the Spring Blossom figurehead and sails, as well as 550 ancient coins to spend in the Pirate Emporium, as well as the free bonus of the 25,000 gold, that's pretty good nowadays. Not gonna lie, 25,000 considering the Reaper's chest is 10,000. Is it the chest? God, I hate that I always mix those up. And the doubloons, if you can find the doubloons during the Hoarder's Hunt, those are roughly like 10 to 15 depending on who you talk to. And then, so I mean, 25,000 is pretty good. And for $17, you're getting a figurehead and sails, which those are usually pretty expensive in the Emporium, but you're also getting a weapon bundle and a fishing rod on top of that. So a pretty good deal. I'm not going to lie. The bundles, typically, they do a good job on that. I usually buy the bundles because I like the ancient coins. It's $5.50 off the cost of the actual bundle right there. So you're really only paying, if you're getting it with Game Pass and you're in America, you're really only spending about $10 for a figurehead, weapons, a fishing rod, and 25 grand, which is a pretty easy buy in my opinion. Just saying. So that was it as far as the Emporium stuff. Good stuff. I like it. I'm very happy about that. The thing that I will say is we got some new cosmetics If you've noticed over the last couple updates, we've been getting some of the different trade companies. We've got the Gold Hoarder, and then it was the Order of Souls. We now have the Merchant Alliance cosmetics available in the shops at Outposts, available for gold, obviously a much hiked up price. This is the gold sync that they're doing. I bought the shirt because the shirt has stripies on its waistcoat, and it's an open button shirt with a nice little kerchief. The stripy waistcoat goes really well with this season's pants of the privateer. And now I've got stripy clothes. I've got stripy clothes from head to toe, and I love it. It's fantastic. Really recommend you guys go take a look at the Merchant Alliance stuff, especially if you like the traditional pirate stuff. Looks great, very expensive. So make sure that if you need gold, you go get gold. Wait for those community days where you can really rack up some gold. And then so there's been some improvements to the way that battles for Sea of Thieves happen. So the Hourglass battles, or the battle for the Sea of Thieves, which is, again, it's a choice. There's been some improvements that have come to those. So supply restocking after a lost battle. So if you lose a battle and you go to an outpost and say you've purchased supplies like the captain supplies or the merchant supplies, those are on an in-game timer. And you typically can't do it more than once an in-game day. Which is fair, because you don't want to just be like being able to, it's a way to kind of prevent people from overstocking their ships, so that they really have like they have an advantage on a fresh spawn, or another fresh spawn, or as a fresh spawn, I guess would be a better way to put it, by being able to win games of attrition by not having to actually go out and get supplies beyond what you can just purchase the one time. So that restriction has always been in place. Everyone's been fine with it. Everyone was cheating it for a while, but they took that cheat out. You can no longer buy it all at the same time by coordinating multiple people buying it at once on a captain ship, which again, it's a way to stock up your ship quickly. But it does kind of cheat, because you're effectively getting 4 times what a single person would be able to get on a sloop. So it doesn't surprise me that they patched it out. But to get to the point of the update here, crews that are defeated during a Hourglass are now able to purchase captain supplies or merchant supplies upon arrival at an outpost, even if one in-game day has yet to pass, allowing them to stock up and get back into the Hourglass. Because this was kind of I don't know if y'all have experienced this, but I will say that for the most part, if you are out and about and you sink, or you spawn into an island, or spawn into an outpost, you've got a 50-50 shot that those barrels are bare bones, and there's not a whole lot of, you might find a couple worms, you might find some bananas, but they're usually picked clean. So you tend to have to rely on purchasing captain supplies and merchant supplies, which isn't too bad, because it's, you're just trying to buffer a little bit more before you get out there and do some stuff and get some supplies. It's not too bad. But the thing here is that when you're going into a Hourglass battle, Hourglass battles typically could be shorter than 24 minutes, which is an in-game day, right? So if you lose really quickly after just buying all of those supplies, say like you buy them all, you go out, you get your first match, you've got a really high ELO or MMR rating, and you get sunk by a really good crew, it was valid, and it only took 15 minutes for them to sink you. Well, now you've got like 19 or 14 more minutes before, or no, less than that actually. 15 to 10, 29 minutes. You got 9 minutes to sit around before you can feasibly repurchase any more supplies, which is bummer. You want to get back in there. You want to get back and try and start getting that streak up. So this eliminates that. And they've been able to restrict it to just when you are defeated in an Hourglass match and you go to the outpost, and you're only available to purchase it. So you would basically be kicked out to a new server. So it wouldn't even be something where you could use it as retribution to go after the same crew that you had been in. Additionally, battles that are within a storm. So crews diving beneath the waves to battle rival ships will no longer find themselves battling in storm conditions. This is huge. I'm really glad that they addressed this. I have only run into it a couple times, obviously, because I don't do too many hourglass battles. I did a few this weekend to some success, which was nice. But for all intents and purposes, when you spawn into a storm and you're, say, a solo slooper, your first instinct is to turn the wheel, port or starboard, depending on which way you feel like is the best way to approach it, and then raise your sails to try and cut harder into one direction or the other. And a storm really messes that up. It messes it up when you're trying to do anything when it comes to a battle. And the idea of the battles is to have as much of a even footing between you and the crew that you're coming up against, to make sure that you have that ability to have enough chance as they do to win the battle. Now, obviously, supplies, curse cannonballs, blunder bombs, latency, all that stuff all kind of factors in regardless. But they're trying to use the hourglass fights as a way to supplant arena, because they want people to be able to have on-demand PvP. And the best way to do that is to make sure that it's supported in adventure, where they can address all the major concerns that they have with stuff. But they need to make it as even as possible, as fair as possible, because that's the whole point of having competition, is you have two parties that are competing on as much of a fair basis as possible. You set the rules and you tell those people what the rules are, and they agree to them, and they commence in the competition. Which kind of brings us into the next story. So let me take a break. We'll come right back and we'll jump into the updates itself. And we're back. Did you miss me? It's okay. You didn't have to. All right. So jumping back into the rest of the patch notes. So updates. Report a player. This is kind of a cool one. We'll see how people feel about it. Hopefully people will get an opportunity to never have to use it, because ideally you would need to have a report feature if everyone was being chill. But people tend to not be chill. So now if you go into the settings menu, players now have access to report a not chill player. Options allowing them to directly report another player who's not chill to the Sea of Thieves support team for possible moderation and action. This reporting tool allows players to be reported for inappropriate game tags, ship names, and pet names. Once the report has been completed, players will be shown a list of players who have been in the vicinity of in the vicinity of them in the last few hours, to enable the report to be targeted at a specific player who's not being chill. So this is kind of a nice way to say, like, hey, I saw something, I don't have time to go to the website, pull up a ticket. This is an easy way to quickly report someone for inappropriate game tags, ship names, pet names. And you know what? If you're not sure, let the moderation team decide, because the moderation team is going to be the one that kind of says yes or nay on this. It would be nice if there were a little more defined guidelines on this, because there's certain words that I would say personally are very piratey in nature, and are not something that I would see outside of a PG-13 film. Granted, there's the restrictions on PG films have definitely loosened up a lot, in my opinion, from what I would expect. But then again, I go back to like the 1980s PG films, and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff in there. So there's definitely stuff that I would say, like, if I had a kid, I probably wouldn't want my kid to be reading that. So I will say, like, some words, like, we need to kind of, bring those in and say, like, okay, you know what? I think a grog or bartender, probably those are fine. We drink grog in the game. I don't see like why things like drunk or grog, or I think grog is one of them, but like bartender and drunk, I think, are like two that I don't understand in a game where we have access to grog, right? Doesn't make sense. Everything else, I'll totally take it into consideration and be like, okay, yeah, probably those ones. Yeah, we can implied stuff. Yeah, let's kind of tone it down. You don't got to be that childish. Or maybe you do, but if you do, you're putting yourself at risk. So aside from that, they have fixed issues, and I'll kind of talk about the Twitch drops, but there's some Twitch drops coming, but there's some fixed issues. So let's talk about gameplay, right? Pirates swimming to a ship in choppy waters are no longer able to use a ship's cannon, harpoon, or map table to board directly from the water. Here's the warning for people that are going to get dramatic about this, and be very, very vocal about this. My stance is these are not intended. It was never intended for a ship's cannon to be a way for someone to get onto a ship. When you are a galleon and you're sailing around and you come down on a sloop, and the sloop has two people and they're guarding the two ladders available on a ship, they should feel comfortable knowing that those 2 points of access are the only 2 points of access for their ship, unless you shoot yourself in a cannon and you nail that deck shot, because that's actually, that's actually something that you can do. That's a very viable way to do it. We don't have a glider. You can't glide in, You don't have an airship you can't drop in other than a cannon. And if you do, kudos, because that's a heck of a shot. But when it comes to harpoons, ship cannons, map tables, that's just no. That's, what you're abusing is the area of access that a harpoon has to be able to interact with that. And because of the size of the ship and the way the buoyancy works in the water, you can be up higher than you should be intended to be able to grab those. And if you can interact with them, then you immediately grab the harpoon and you just disengage and you can be on their ship. That to me is an exploit. And I've always kind of felt that way. I've never really liked that type of thing in game, because it goes back to the idea of there's two ladders on the boat. If there's two ladders on the boat, two people should guard those. And if two people are guarding those, you should be good. There's ways to get onto the deck. You can bait out a shot. There's some sneaky stuff that people are still able to do to be able to get past the Blundy at the top of a ladder. But those are choices, and you have tools around it. You can have fire bombs, you can have blunder bombs. You can try and snipe the person in the water, or, on at the top of the ladder. There's ways that you can try and distract people from being able to. And I think this was a great comment that was made privately between friends. But I think I'll share it here. The best time to board a ship is when you've killed at least one person, because at least even on a sloop with two people, if you know that you've been able to beam one person on the cannon, then is the perfect time to shoot over and try and get the board, because they're going to be triaging the situation. They're either going to leave their friend to die and they'll come back on the ferry in 15 seconds, and they can only guard one ladder. So you have an opportunity there. But to be able to use the ship's cannon, the harpoon, or the map table to board directly from the water, that's just not something I agree with. And I'm not going to say like anyone that has done it in the past is a bad human being, because they're just using what they can. And until the devs say that it's not something that you can use, then people are going to do it. It's kind of like double gunning in this sense. And the double gunning is still an issue. Like there's still the ability to sprint swap, animation cancel into a quick shot. And honestly, it sucks. Especially someone who likes to play on my Xbox. I can't do that with my guns on a controller. I just can't. I can kind of do it on mouse and keyboard, but it's not something I want to practice. It's not something that I if I have to do that, if I have to go that far to shoot someone milliseconds faster than the other person has to shoot me, then I really need to figure out how to fight better. Like that's not fighting better in my mind. And so you guys can hate me on that if you want. I don't care. You're not going to ruin my day by hating on me for feeling like the exploit of double gun is still something that is an issue in the game that I don't like, because I've never liked it. And if you're listening to this and you thought, oh, I bet Logan loves double guns. I like double guns when it comes to using double guns naturally. I don't like double guns when you're swapping guns to the point where you're able to get shots in quicker than another person who's just naturally reloading and swapping and having the ready cycle. Like there's a reason why that ready animation was built into the double gun. So you're not going to get any sympathy from me, and I don't care if you hate me for it. But I'm glad that it feels like the devs are shoring up a lot of the questionable actions that people have been using for a while, and they've just never addressed. They've never like said like, hey, this is something that is going to get addressed. But I've definitely noticed that ever since Battle for Sea of Thieves with season 8, with them like actively saying like, hey, Reapers or people running into the Red Sea to ditch their loot is not allowed. They're obviously pushing it to win for, or they're pushing it as a win for the person who is spending the time to chase after someone who they think has loot. I personally, I'll tell you a little story right now, actually. So Captain's Log, CaptainLogun went on a sale today, and I did Order of Souls, and I was playing for a couple hours. And I got to Emissary Grade 5 solo, just did a few voyages, bunch working on Order of Souls voyages mostly. But I got my completions down, and I was just kind of sailing around, enjoying the atmosphere, picking up loot, picking up supplies, things like that. And I went over to Castaway Isle, where I had a heck of a time because there were phantoms and then ocean crawlers and then captains galore. And they were, of course, goldies with pistols. And I'm not making that up. I wish I was. It was murder, lots of murder. And it took me longer to kind of work on that. So by the time I got the last skull down, I happened to notice that there was a brig that was sailing over from the direction of Old Boot Fort, or not Old Boot Fort. What's it called? Fort of the Damned. And so I figured, like, okay, maybe they might be Reaper. They got a flag up. I can't see what it is. I'm on the island sorting the loot to get ready to harpoon. So I hop over. I look at the table. It's not a Reaper. So I'm like, 50-50 chance here. Could be aggressive. Could not be aggressive. Do I want to risk it? I've got a ton. I've got three of my emissary quest voyages on board, with one to go that I wasn't going to bother with. And I was like, I'm gonna play it safe here. I'm gonna scoop up what I can, flip around, head the other direction, and start going into the wind. And I did, and I started to gain some distance on them. Thankfully, sails into the wind on a sloop is still faster than a brig. And I started to do exactly what I knew I needed to do. I had a grade 5 Order of Souls. I was going to lose that. I had a rowboat, so I started to stuff everything I could, storage crates and all, into the rowboat. And I tell you what, as soon as I passed Rum Runner's Island, and as soon as I passed those rocks that were in part of the voyage for the last between Hidden Springs Keep and Lonely Isle, I dropped it. I dropped rowboat, and I rowed all the way down to Port Merrick, over to the Sovereign Tent, and I got everything except for 2 chest loads of skulls turned in before something happened to my ship and I lost my emissary. I don't know if they got it. I don't know if I hit a rock. I don't know if it sailed into the Red Sea. But I wasn't going to let them have my loot because it was very apparent. And they chased my ship legit. Like they kept going after my ship. And they didn't even get deterred by the sloop that was like sail up, parked at a shipwreck that my ship like sailed past. But I ghosted my ship. I used the rowboat. I got my stuff turned in. I didn't get the full emissary value for all of it, but you know what? 6 skulls wasn't going to make a difference. I didn't even need the emissary value, so it wasn't even really that. It was a little bit of lost gold on that. But at the end of the day, considering how much loot I had turned in from the rowboat, I was 100% okay letting my ship go. And you know what? If it went into the Red Sea and all they got was an empty storage crate and a flag and a book, then, and whatever little supplies that I had in the barrels that I forgot about, a lot of fireworks. They got a lot of fireworks out of that chase. That probably took them like 15 minutes to finally get my boat. But I'll tell you what, Rare said, if you're going to run to the sea, if you're going to run into the red, they're going to get all your loot. So I said, okay, you know what? I will never do that again. I will now take the rowboat play. I will do whatever I can to bait them away from the actual loot, because I win by turning in the loot. They win by getting my flag. It's a win-win for both of us. I just get what I want out of it. So I set my own terms. And this is kind of a thing going back into the patch notes here. Rare is setting the terms. They are saying like, hey, these are the rules. They say tools, not rules, but these are the rules. Like, we don't want you exploiting these things. Like, yes, it's a tool. Yes, you could do that before. We found that it's not fair enough for people on smaller crew sizes to be able to handle. As a result, in the fairness of trying to give everyone the opportunity to succeed, we're not going to allow you to abuse the interaction, the game functionalities of these items in a way that is counteractive or counterintuitive to being able to use them. Like you wouldn't use a cannon to get aboard a ship. You shouldn't be using a cannon unless you're actually shooting yourself onto a cannon. You wouldn't use a harpoon to get onto a ship unless you're actually getting harpooned by someone with the harpoon. So it shouldn't make sense that those are interaction points that are available for people to be able to get onto a boat without the other person knowing. That's just my personal opinion on it. And that's actually, it coincides with how they feel. I'm a very by the book person when it comes to games. If it's got rules, I like to stick by the rules. I don't like to break rules too often. Even though it's a pirate game, I like to steal. I like to dig up treasure. I like to go around and play pirate. But in the fairness of someone, if they sink me, they sink me. If they didn't do it by any kind of like hacks or exploits, things like that, then good on them. They earned it. Getting back to gameplay after that rant, it was a really long rant. I'm looking at the bar now on Audition. That was a long rant. Pirates striking an enemy threat with a harpoon will once again deal a small amount of damage. That's kind of nice because that was a weird thing as a result of some changes that they made where the harpoons were automatically picking up treasure. You used to be able to kill stuff with harpoons, and it would take a while. You'd have to hit something with a lot of harpoon hits, but you can now do that again. So if you want to kill snakes on the island with your harpoon, go for it. Cannonballs are better, but harpoons available again. On discovering a shipwreck graveyard during the Legend of the Veil voyage, players who previously opened the captain's quarters will still be able to access that area even after server migration. Kind of a nice fix, especially when you haven't picked all that stuff out and you maybe go up to your ship because you're dealing with, whatever, sharks. You got merfolk coming, sirens coming after you. You got to go back up onto your boat. You get merged once you get back on. You go back down and the captain's cabin is locked. Ugh. That sucks. So that hopefully is fixed. If it's not, please let Rare know so they can address it. Keep an eye on that stuff. There's a lot of data that they don't get to scrub through for that kind of thing. During a Ghost Fleet encounter, crews at a distance from the battle will no longer find the ships disappear while attempting to move to the crew's position. It's kind of weird, but I've seen it happen. I'm glad that they fixed it. Moving on, players are now able to complete the Ocean Epicurean trial when fulfilling the required criteria. Take for that what you will. I do not understand it. I am not familiar with it, and I haven't the time to research it. But I can tell you right now, I'm glad you can complete it. So I actually don't know what this is. I think it's one of those things. It's either tied to what is it called? Hourglass things, or something I've already done, probably. Players attempting to sell a trident of dark tides or the bubble sticks. While aiming, it will no longer be prevented from aiming other weapons once sold. What are y'all doing? What a weird bug. But I'm glad that's fixed. Moving into Battle for the Sea of Thieves specific stuff beyond just the obvious things that I talked about earlier. Voting on the Hourglass of Fate will now clear the captain's table of any placed tall tale checkpoints, which is kind of nice. People were trying to exploit that stuff. Players will no longer see a quest received notification when diving below the waves looking for an opponent. Okay. I didn't realize that was a thing. Solo players forcibly disconnecting from a session while traveling beneath the waves will now find their battle canceled and arrive at a random random island back at sea. I'm not sure why they would be doing this, but it sounds kind of exploity. And if that was the case, cool. I'm glad they shored it up. The win streak UI it now appears consistently, even if the player is force closing the game and rejoins the session. I could see some of these things happen where folks are just getting locked up. There's a bug, whatever. You got to force close, you rejoin, and now the streak UI doesn't appear. That would be frustrating. When diving beneath the waves, players will no longer see strange light blue underwater visual effects in the distance prior to fading to black. While we're on the topic of this, what the heck is the red thing that appears in the top left corner whenever I look in the sky? What is that? I don't know what that is. It's a weird visual glitch. I was getting ghosting today earlier when I was spyglassing down, panning left and right. It was really weird. But whatever that red thing is, I hope it gets addressed the way the blue underwater visual effects in the distance before fading to black appear. Has been. Captains of Adventure. Captain's logbook placed inside a collector's chest no longer loses its cover customization. A small thing, but a nice bug fix. The taker of stolen stock commendation now progresses when commodities are sold to sovereigns. That's good. I never run into anyone running these things, and I still need those. I feel like I missed out when everyone was grinding those. Improvements have been made to the captain's logbook to avoid instances where the text and image inside the logbook overlap and intersect with each other. It's kind of nice because there's been a couple of weird things with the books lately. Pirate Emporium, players, not pirates, maybe both, but in this case it's players, will now travel in the intended direction when fired from a brigantine cannon with the Sawbones cannons equipped. Which, if you don't know, a lot of the cosmetics really do mess with some of the stuff that you interact with on a regular basis. I don't know why. The Sawbones jacket and belt will now appear ghostly when equipping the Blessing of Athena's Curse, which is nice. It'd be a weird thing that it didn't. The iconography for the Sawbones collector's sails now matches the equipped sails, which is nice because usually sometimes you run into those weird bugs. The Sawbone trinket is now centered correctly and lit from above when placed on a ship. The Sawbones collector's figurehead, when equipped on the sloop, will no longer display liquid through the vial corks and will swing more noticeably. Very nice. Players can no longer get stuck when traversing the dry dock area at Port Merrick, which is nice. Players will no longer be able to see the water line when jumping at either the end of the dry dock at Port Merrick. The lanterns present at the back of the Order of Souls building at Port Merrick are now lit. Players can no longer intersect with the environment within the Sea Fort basements. What are y'all doing? Items can no longer become lost if placed on the table in the Merchant Alliance area at Port Merrick. Thank God. Characters at Port Merrick will now be seen when approaching from a distance and will no longer pop into view. There's still some pop in, by the way, for the actual loading of Port Merrick. I was sailing towards it tonight sailing's a strong word. I was rowing my heart out. And as I was rowing in there, I definitely noticed some pop in. I take that back. I was sailing because I hit up Port Merrick twice. Once when I finished grade 5 and I picked up the emissary, and then one when I was rowing my heart out. But the first time when I was sailing in, that's when I noticed the pop in with a lot of the bricks and the banners and stuff, especially over by the order or the gold hoarder stuff. So this is Series X, streaming stuff on Unreal, not the greatest, but if you don't believe me, go play Redfall. The cannon at the southeast of Port Merrick now launches pirates in the correct direction. Hopefully the one that they want. The user interface and icon will now appear next to a pirate's name, indicating they are carrying treasure after picking up a stronghold key. Interesting. There's some different things as far as the visual and audio stuff. I don't think that any of it is really, doesn't look like anything's too major. Player bodies will no longer become invisible when equipping the Order of Souls shirt and an open jacket. Fantastic. When holding a pet underwater, air bubbles will now appear from the animal's mouth. There's a small little developer note in here. They call you a monster for doing this. I have to agree. At Galleon's Grave Outpost, the coastline audio is now heard at the correct volume. I think that's about it. Again, known issues, reduced server performance when there's a lot of stuff going on. The ranged and melee weapon hit detection is still something they are working on. No update on the hit scan stuff. I haven't heard anything officially about the hit scan development, how that's going. It's been a year now since the May podcast when they came out to talk about how they're spinning up a separate team to work and develop on that. I would imagine we should be getting an update on that, but anyone at Rare that happens to be listening to this, if y'all could ping Mr. Neat, he's a neat little guy. If you could meet up with him, meet with Neat, and that should be God. Why isn't that a weekly thing? CM team, what is going on? Why isn't there a meet with Neat every like other week or something to get an update on stuff? Like we don't necessarily need like the weekly videos anymore. And I get that you guys have got the tavern talk with the podcast and stuff, but can we get like a meet with neat? Is that a thing that we could do? Can we get the meet with neat? Oh, I'm stupid. I should stop. Performance and stability updates. Improve server stability to reduce instances where players are disconnected from their session. Thank you. The Sunken Pearl. Improves server stability when migrating during the Tall Tales. I think people use that one the most when server hopping. But you don't have to server hop that much anymore. That's another thing too. I have not noticed level 5 Reapers hopping servers anymore ever since Hourglass Battles. I will say Hourglass Battles made the servers like completely empty. Everyone was working on those. Ever since season 9, everyone's kind of back on servers. I have not really run into too many level 5 Reapers bouncing from server to server. So that's actually been a huge improvement, I think, to the life of the game. I think a lot of people are sticking to one server most of the time. I've seen a couple sus ships come over during like a FOF and be like, oh, that's interesting. You just happen to come in now. Like, it seems interesting that you're just now interested. You didn't come any sooner. You didn't come any later, but you never know with those kind of things. So it's hard to really like judge and see like, oh, I bet your server you could have been anything. Who knows? So just kind of cool that that's not happening anymore. Seems like a lot of people are kind of sated with the Hourglass fights, which is cool. Glad to see that they're getting served, because that's usually what it means to me is if you don't see that kind of thing happening, chances are people are playing through servers naturally, and they're kind of going through, you log in, you play for a while, you log out, and you're done. You're not really hopping servers to look for hot stuff. Although I do know folks are still kind of hopping around to try and find those FOFs. That is still kind of a big thing for a lot of folks, which I think that'll die down soon, but we'll have to see kind of like where content updates run in and see like, what are we going to be working on in the future to kind of know like, what's going to drive the mentality of the common pirate and what they plan to do for most evenings and stuff like that. But overall, that's the patch notes. I think they've done a great job with this. I love that they're addressing exploits, if that's what you want to call them, since they're getting fixed. You can label them an exploit. Again, report a player for Gamertag, ship name, or gosh, what was the other thing? I already forgot. Reporting a player for, it was Gamertag, ship name, pet names. That's what it was. Reporting for pet names as well too. That's all built into the game now. You don't have to go to the website to be able to do that. Let us take a break, and I'll get back into this with this last week's hoarder hunt. I'll try and keep it short up, and we'll get into the actual codes. So if you're catching up for the first 2 weeks, you'll have the codes for that. All right, so let's get into the hoarders hunt. Man, this one was a little bit tougher. Not gonna lie, it was a little bit tougher. This one was it was the Feathered Fiend, I think, or the Feathered Friend. No, what was it called? It was oh gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, it was a feathered kind of thing, basically kicking up from that. And it kicked off with a message. Obviously, we got another letter. The letter says, before I sinned, I'd sit in the tavern and sing shanties. I'd eat bananas and watch the gulls float above the breeze. Then things changed. The hoarder's pet macaw became, which is a type of parrot, became my vengeful bane. Ever since, fears driven me to spy these beasts through window pane. Their scratching claws, their pecking beaks. I cannot stand these birds, but understand that secrets lie within their chosen words. Wise it may be to spy through glass, to view a parrot's perch, and listen out for clues that may well help you on your search. So that was a letter from H that we got for the second week. And then shortly after this went live, we actually got a video. The video is from H, and it was streamed live. And it was effectively about 16 to 18 minutes. And most of it was of macaws, different parrots. They were in the tavern, and they were just kind of saying words, parrot noises and stuff. And they were just kind of hanging out They had obviously like hired a professional who owns a couple macaws who have certain words trained or had been trained. It'd be very curious to see if these words were trained to them. And the intent is we were supposed to watch the video. So we watched the video, and then when the live stream went down, everyone started to rip the video off of YouTube. And then we proceeded. We jumped into it head first. We started listening to the audio. We started to write down all the words, because based on the video, or based on the actual, what's it called? The message, we knew that we had to kind of listen to the words, because the whole video was nothing but them talking. So the idea there was we had to write down what words they were saying, and they were saying a bunch of words. And the trouble with this is that there was no captions. So right off the bat, everything was coming down to agreed words. And there were certain words that were definitely agreed upon, but there were definitely a lot of words that we heard that we did assume was going to be in importance, right? Of import. So as we watch this video, there's at one point where one of the parrots, this was a green, yellow-bellied macaw, I believe, was kind of pecking away at a banana, and it was really, really short, but you could catch it. There's on the side of the banana was a pig pen cipher, where there was a code, and it was written or it was written in pig pen cipher by the little marks and the little dots and stuff. And if you went and you translated it using the standard pig pen cipher, it said, "What 3 words?" which I honestly just attributed to whatever 3 words the parrots were saying. But I smarter pirates prevailed, and I found out that What 3 Words is actually a very popular website for a lot of UK users. It's not something I think any American ever uses. I don't think any of us ever knew about it, but turns out it's a website. If you want to go to it to play around, it's connected up to Google Maps. And what3words.com effectively allows you to visit a location, a 3x3 meter, which is 3x3 meter square, which is coded as 3 different words in the dictionary. I think it's like the Cambridge dictionary. I don't know the history of like how this got set up, but effectively we then went there and saw like, okay, there's a location, and each location is separated by 3 words, and that has 2 dots in between them. So like cow, pig, chicken, and it would be like https://w3w.co/cow.chicken.pig. And that would take you to a location. And on that location, you could do like a street view, and you could see like stuff in the area, right? So the trouble came down to, I was working with the AIU and or the Ancient Isles University Discord. The Merfolk's Lullaby Discord was going hot on it too, as well as the general Sea of Thieves Discord, as well as streamers. So everyone was kind of working on this, and I came up with a list of 27 words. And one of the troubles is that we found out that What 3 Words allows you to put the same word in 3 times. So you had to account for the fact that 3 words could be used at the same time. And when you take all the possible combinations of the 27 words that I came up with, I think it equaled out to about 40,000 words, because some words were not that were in the actual pirate or the actual parrot video were not words that were used in What 3 Words. So the word skull or murder, those words are not used to attach to any kind of location in any combination. So we knew that some words weren't going to work, but we knew that a lot of the words were actually going to work. And I posted about this about a day later, because Novak in the Ancient Isles Discord was kind enough to go onto Google Sheets and actually built up, after I had been working on this for a while, and in a short amount of time, built up all 40,000 possible combinations of the URLs that you would need. And that's when it kind of hit me that it was going to take an entire community to have to try and brute force this, because based on the video, we really didn't have any indication. There was a lot of speculation. There was a lot of different people thinking like, okay, it's got to be something tied to this, or it's got to be something tied to that. And truth, it really wasn't. It really wasn't tied to any particular thing, which really does kind of hurt, because it feels like we didn't have the right information to be able to push us in the right direction. So I posted about this on Twitter, and I don't want to say that I'm the one that caused this, but it seemed very evident that the community in general was very uncertain, both on the words that we were hearing and what words were important. So shortly after I had posted about the 40,000 words, not too long after that, we got an actual transcription from Rare. They posted a tweet that said that the transcript for the video had been uploaded. And I want to think that they'd known that this was kind of going to happen, so they had it kind of on standby as a kind of a backup plan. I don't know what you'd call it, but they kind of anticipated this might be an issue. So shortly after the 40,000 possible combinations and the brute force attempt that had to happen with the community, we got a transcription, and the transcription narrowed the list down, cut out a lot of the words that we thought were actual words. A lot of them were actual words, but just because of the transcription, we knew to ignore them. So we got the list down to, I think, like 12 words, which is a significantly lower amount of possible combinations when you have to go through and brute force this. And what I mean by brute force, if you're not too familiar, it means pushing every possible combination into a lock to eventually come across the combination that the lock is, to be able to get through it when you don't know the actual combination. So if it's a 4-digit combination, then you have 9 numbers, then you have a certain number of possible brute force attempts before you will just break through whatever the actual combination is without knowing the combination. So knowing that we had 12 words for sure, and a possible combination of 3 between those 12, we came up with about 5,000 different combinations, which again was something that I said, okay, cool. We got the, we have the list. We just need everyone to start clicking on links and looking for something that indicates what we're supposed to look at. Because to be perfectly honest, we had no idea what we were looking for, but we knew once we saw it, we would probably know, we know that it would be there. So whatever it had to be, we knew that it probably had to be through what 3 words. It had to be using the words that were from the video. And I had kind of assumed that because of the line, wise it may be to spy through glass to view a parrot's perch, to me meant we had to be looking for something tied to a parrot's perch. Well, parrots perch on pirate shoulders, they perch on crow's nests, they perch on, you know, little wood things like that. And to spy through glass, I think is the literal phrasing of it, a spyglass, like the little icon that is the search function on most websites, right? So knowing that, eventually, not by myself, but by someone in the community, managed to find the right 3 combinations of words. And it really did come down to just trying every possible combination. So finally, someone stumbled upon goat, or no, it was like Turkey.Goat.Lives, and or lives. And that combination is what took us to Cuddy ship, which is, I believe, the ship that was actually filmed at for the what's it called, the one, or the pirate, the Sea of Thieves documentary. I can't remember a pirate's life, or no, it's like a voyage. I can't remember now. Why I hate my anyway, takes you to Cuddy Sark, which is the ship that they filmed at, which means that they, at the time of recording, they set up what was a little placard, a little billboard placard with another cipher on it, another pig pen cipher, and a fake parrot sitting on top of it. They also cheekily put in a turkey and a goat figures, little like little plastic goat and turkey figures in the rest of the 360 image, which is really funny. But when you decipher the code that's on the doubloon image on that Google view, you get taken to another website, another OneDrive. And it was another bit.ly link, and the bit.ly link was like SOT feather or something. And in that bit.ly link, in that OneDrive, it was another message from H, and it was another parchment. And this parchment was uncipherable from my perspective. I immediately looked at it and I thought, that is a whole nother language. It is gibberish. I have no idea how we're supposed to break this down. So Personal Coffee and I sat there while we were trying to work this out, and it all kind of happened pretty quickly on Saturday. And we started to break down the possible unique instances of chicken scratches, literal chicken scratches. I kid you not. It's a combination of little chicken's feet put together for different characters, right? And we got all the way to the point where we realized that there were more than 26 characters, which is a method of deciphering text when you don't have a key to tell you what letters are what, called frequency cipher, I believe is what it's called. And the idea is you look for the symbols that are the most used, and whatever the highest, most used symbol is then going to be associated in the English language with the most used letter. In this case, it would be E. So if you've ever watched Wheel of Fortune, you know that they use, like, at the very end of Wheel of Fortune, which is a weird thing to be like, hey, you guys should know what Wheel of Fortune is. But RSTLNE are the most common given letters and vowel that the contestant on the final final Wheel of Fortune puzzle gets. They just get that. Like, they just know, hey, these are the most common RSTLNE. Those are the ones that we're going to give to you. You then get to choose like 3 consonants and a vowel. And then they have to try and figure out what the actual phrase is, or whatever the final Wheel of Fortune is, right? So Personal Coffee and I sat down and we went systematically through this and picked out every single one and assigned it to a letter. By the time we got this, someone had already kind of worked out, like, it wasn't something that was based around like translating each symbol to a letter. It was instead a kind of like they looked at the frequency of the sets, and they were able to pair it up with "We Shall Sail Together," the lyrics to "We Shall Sail." So it was a phonetic description. So they were like, ba, 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 ba. So if you know, like, the general tune or the general lyrics for "We Shall Sail Together," they were able to line up the words with that, and the words were kind of like falling in line with it. And at that point, it was like, I can see why they're going with that. I can see like where the logic is with that, but there was literally no way for us to really know that was for sure the thing. And it seemed like a real lucky guess. So we were already kind of like, is this really what it is? Because if it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. But at the very bottom of this parchment, there's a bolded version of this kind of thing. So if you break down the phonetics of the chicken scratch and you translate it using the lyrics to "We Shall Sail Together," the very bottom text says like Xbox Wire, and it takes you to the Xbox Wire link that was actually it says Xbox Wire marks the spot, which took us to the most recent Hoarder Hunt Xbox Wire article. It was a news article that they put out. It was a discussion about what was going on there. And then after that, then it started going into all of the different things about the Xbox Wire article. Like, we're looking at it and we noticed that there's images on it. Well, some of the images are flipped. Some of the images are alpha footage. Some of the images may not even be involved with it. But one of them was an alpha image of Sanctuary Outpost, like an early image, something that's been used in the past. And you can tell it's alpha because the buildings are completely moved from their normal current locations. They're floating above the air. There's not actually any kind of thing underneath of the outpost buildings. And there's a guy in a crow's nest looking at the outpost, right? And he's kind of got a compass there. And the interesting thing about it is that this is distinctly an alpha build of the game before it got released. And on there is a macaw on the crow's nest, something that did not exist at the time of that photo taken. It was something that was edited into it. So people started to analyze that photo. And when they analyzed the photo, they found that there was an X, and that X was up in the top corner. You can kind of see where Xbox Wire marks the spot. So X marks the spot. Xbox has an image from an alpha that has a pet that was never in the alpha that was posted on there. So they started to scour the image, right? And they found this X. And in one tiny little pixel, one tiny little pixel of this X, the hexadecimal code for the color of that pixel was two-faced, and it was the number 2 and then the word faced all together. That is the code for the second week. And once you do that, once you enter in that second code, you can go do the second voyage. I'm not going to tell you how to do the second voyage. I think you should go do it yourself. I had a good time with it. Mike and I actually, Xbox Mike 29 and I actually joined up yesterday night, and we did it pretty late. And whoever infidel is out there in the Xbox community, you said you were listening to this show, so here's your shout out. It was really nice to meet you in the seas. I really appreciate you guys being super chill and shooting some fireworks, because I didn't have anything on my ship at the time. I was just doing the riddle or the book. And I wanted you guys to know that I appreciate it, because you shot over, you hopped on my ship. I tried to give you a couple chests that I found on the island. You declined, you took off, but it was really nice to meet you. So if you're out there, thank you. But the voyage is great. The voyage is fantastic. I actually had a really good time. It felt like a tall tale riddle. It really did. It felt like a really well done tall tale riddle. And I really like that, because I miss the tall tales. And this is something that is only going to be going on for 4 weeks. So it's a bummer that folks are going to miss it, because if y'all don't know, like, we're at the end of the school season, the school year. You know, kids are getting out of school. Parents are going to want to go on vacation. They're going to want to take time off while they can. A lot of people going out and enjoying the weather. And having a 4-week thing where the 4th week is going to unlock. And if you're not going to be here, you're going to miss out on that last voyage. You may not get the trinkets and stuff that Lorena is offering. So there's a gold hoarder trinket as well as a doubloon. I don't know how you're supposed to get the doubloon, but I'm assuming you get it when you complete all 4 weeks. But for all intents and purposes, it's out there, and it's a good tall tale riddle. I'll say that. And I had a really good time doing it. I look forward to next week's, but I have no clue what next week's is going to be. Whatever you do, don't go to bit.ly/SOT plundered, because I can tell you right now that is a red herring. So it was good to see folks do it. I'm glad that there was a lot of people who are invested in this. Again, personally, I don't need to win anything. But I'm super glad to see folks working on it. It's been such a blast having folks kind of bang their heads against the wall to try and figure out what these puzzles are, because it's so satisfying to see everyone excited and sharing the news about, you know, oh, it's so cool. Hey, we got it. We found out what it is. Let's go do the voyage. Let's go. So it's been so much fun seeing that. I'm really happy that everyone's been doing it, and hopefully you get some time, if you're listening to this, to go do it yourself. Before I forget, as we're wrapping up, I mentioned that the code is two-faced, or the number 2 and then faced. That is the second code for the second week. The first one, if you missed out on this, is Outcast, and it's Outcast. I know how to spell Outcast. Stop making fun of me. It's 0UTC45T. So again, head over to the Sea of Thieves website. You'll see the banner. It'll tell you Hoarders Hunt. Click on that. Agree to the terms and services that are required for you to participate in a competition where there are prizes. Remember that. Look at the first puzzle. Enter in Outcast using the Elite speak for that. Head over to do the voyage. Go do the voyage. You can pick it up from Lorena. It's free. Have some fun. It takes about an hour if you don't know where everything is and you want to work it out on your own. Rare Thief has some good guides out there, by the way, again. And then go to the second puzzle, enter in two-faced, unlock the other voyage. Go do that. You'll be caught up. Look forward to next week where we get the third week open up and we get the next message from H, which is I believe the plundered photo or the plundered picture, the picture of plunder or something. And we'll be playing a portrait of plunder, I think, maybe. But we're going to be playing around with that, and it's going to be fun. I'm going to have a good time with it. Hopefully you guys are all enjoying this. I am loving this mystery. It has been such a good time. It has been so unique. It feels fun to dive into what people have been doing. I've been learning a ton about like code breaking and stuff like that. And I hope everyone is not getting too overwhelmed by this. Just take the code words if you don't have enough time to keep up with all of it, and just go enjoy the voyages. You get like 10,000 gold out of it. Plus you get the title as well as you get access to hopefully getting the final item at the end of it from Lorena. So with that, let's call that an episode, right? Let's call that an episode. Folks, if you enjoyed this content, thank you. I appreciate you listening to it. Thank you to, again, the gold hoarders, the patrons who are supporting this content. If you happen to need anything, definitely reach out to the Sherpas and the Keelhauled podcast Discord. They can help out with different things. I know that Godhammer has been keeping up with this as well too, and I know that they have been trying to get folks through the voyages. So if you're looking to get help with the voyages and get them done, Godhammer 6 over in the Discord has been helping folks out with that, which is fantastic. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I haven't received any noticeable. I don't think I've received any messages in the email. I don't think I've seen any reviews come through. I will definitely double check those though this week to make sure I didn't miss out on them. Like, subscribe, share the podcast, put a review down, rate it if you whatever you can do to help promote or share this is always appreciated, and it's always free. With that, pirates, thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.